Okay.
All
Start.
right, it's begun. This is the water podcast for
Oh,
water discussion,
welcome to
and
the Water Squatter.
that's allowed.
We
And
discuss water.
this is Squad.
I have a question for you. I have a
What's your
question.
question
Are
about
you
water?
ready for the first sip?
I'm ready for the first sip.
All right, everyone. We're gonna take the traditional first sip that we will be taking every episode. Are you
Oh
ready?
yeah, yeah.
Give us a three, two, one.
What a gulp that was.
What a gulp that was. I have so many thoughts about water. Let me tell you.
Okay, so
Name some thoughts about water.
one thought
I want
about
to hear
water.
what you.
The most I guess timely relevant thought about water on my mind is the fact that I had my personal favorite gulp of water only earlier this very day. In fact, less than 1 hour ago, that took place.
And I'm very surprised. I want to hear this described because I've been anticipating this for quite some
Okay.
time, really.
Well,
I've been
well.
told, I've been told in the past that one day the best gulp of water can be achieved. And I didn't believe it for a long time. But you know what?
I mean,
Now I have.
I'll preface this by saying there's no reason why it shouldn't be theoretically possible for a superior gulp to be achieved anytime in the
No, I
future.
know. I
But
just thought there's no
but
way, right?
yes, this one is one that I tasted, and clearly it was
One
my
for the
personal
ages.
favorite so far. And though this, I mean, I guess maybe slightly wacky, um, when compared to what might be expected of it, is that it wasn't like a super cold sip of water. It was just sort of like right for the moment.
Yeah.
I think I had a very mild headache or something, and it was
Uh,
still somewhat cool
cured the
water.
headache.
Yeah.
I think the
Yes.
advent of slightly cool but still ultimately room temperature water is very underrated in the growing water community,
Mhm.
really.
Yeah. Um.
So describe the gulp.
I mean,
Did it go down extra smooth?
it did go down very smooth. I will say that much. The water's smoothness was like off the charts. Unlike that is definitely the smoothest gulp of water I've ever gulped. Um,
Smooth is definitely, yeah.
and
I
it
think.
was very close to, if not spot on, in terms of optimal size.
Oh, wow, that's impressive. See, yeah, when it comes to, I think I don't know how much there is to this, but I think most people can agree that when it comes to any kind of tap water, or really any kind of water, that night water is better. Do you agree with this conclusion?
Yes,
I
it
think
tends to
that
be that the closer towards the middle of sleep
one of
hours.
the best sips I've ever had was, you have the under lights in the kitchen cabinets. It was like 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I just fill up a glass with room temperature filtered tap water, and
Mm-hmm.
I take a good gulp, man. I take it, and it's great. It tastes like sweet almost, but it's almost as if I had been dying of thirst moments before, and I'm saved. You know what I'm
Would you
saying?
consider that particular gulp of water to be the best one you've had, at least that you can remember or that comes to mind?
To be perfectly honest, I don't know if it was the best, but it was quite frankly the most memorable.
All right, that is,
Just because you see, I had been previously thinking about how people were like, "Oh, a night water is better," and I'm like, "This
yeah,
is a ridiculous claim." And then next thing you know, I'm there, and I'm like, "Oh my God,
yeah.
the prophecy is true."
That thought would
You know,
enhance
it's
that experience.
it does enhance the experience. I'm so glad you noticed.
So, what are your thoughts on water as water as a chemical substance?
I think water is definitely one of those chemical substances that, when it comes to combinations of hydrogen and oxygen, I don't think it gets much better than water. That's
That
that's my take.
that's
Not
true.
maybe not everyone will agree with that, but I think that I think it's a pretty good opinion.
Yeah,
You know,
there's a lot of compounds which contain various arrangements of hydrogen, oxygen. Sometimes maybe even spice things out, throw in a little carbon or whatnot. Um,
we've seen it here before, folks.
yeah, but yeah, it definitely um, water hydrogen dihydrogen monoxide is by far the greatest.
Such a classic. I mean, that's what we're
Combination.
really here for, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what this is all about. I mean, without it, we wouldn't be here to talk about it.
You know what? You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Without water, we just wouldn't be here. I mean, think about all the podcasts about water
Mm-hmm.
that just would
All
cease
of
to
the
exist without it.
podcasts that
And yeah, all the
are, yeah,
podcasts too.
strictly about
To be quite frank,
hydrogen monoxide.
there's just so. You mean dihydrogen monoxide?
I think I said that.
You said hydrogen monoxide.
Yeah, yes, indeed. That
Not
is what I
honestly,
intended.
kind of an overrated chemical. I don't really like that one as much.
Yeah, I don't even know if that really exists in a very stable state. I mean, what do I know?
Well, you'll die, but if you happen to run into it on the street, you know, because they're quick little fellers. I'll give them that much.
Mm.
I will agree.
So,
Now,
what do you think the best kind of, on average, what is the best kind of bottled water? Obviously, personally,
this
I
is
think
this is the
tap
big
water,
discussion.
At least when it's from a tap you are quite familiar with, tends to be better.
Familiar
but,
tap.
Um,
Now, yeah, there's a couple things. You got to have the right filter on the tap water. You got to get the
Mhm.
little filter spigot that's on the corner of the sink. That's where it's at. On a nice, when the temperature outside is just right, and the room temperature is the room. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Then that's what I think is some of the best water. Although I've recently warmed up to Brita filters, if you will, that you keep in the fridge.
Yeah, those are
But
quite good.
you know, Brita filters that were in the fridge, been sitting on the counter for maybe 15 minutes.
Ooh, yeah,
Perfection.
that's quite.
In fact,
Yeah.
I'll have a sip right now. I can sip, everyone. This is huge. Yeah. Come back later for our third sip. So, when it comes to tap water, you know, I've been recently using
Mhm.
my water bottle for this kind of water consumption, but there's a
Yeah, same.
pretty big debate. Would you when it comes to really getting down and dirty and drinking out of a glass, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Would you prefer the skinny tall glasses or the short wide
Ooh,
glasses?
I mean,
Hori
the,
or Verdi, bro? Which one?
gonna be completely honest. I prefer the short fat glasses.
Really?
Yep.
Honestly, I prefer the skinny tall glasses. I think it
Really?
just
They both
I think
have
there's
their
more going
benefits.
on.
I don't know.
I see the water as more of the towering obelisk that it is, you know?
Mm.
I think
I
it
will
just
say,
adds to the experience.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely something to be said for skinny tall water.
Yeah. Before
But
we move on,
when it
yeah,
comes to bottled water,
bottled water. This
yeah.
is the big one, the big discussion.
I mean, yeah,
Now,
obviously.
I'll be honest, I haven't messed around with too many bottled water brands,
Hmm.
only because I know what I like. I'm into the tap water and the filters and everything, but I know a lot of people are super into it, and there's kind of some, I think, two major brackets really. You know, you have your artisan waters and your kind of regular cheap waters, and
Hmm.
well, yeah, there's a couple really in the cheap waters. There's not that much competition. I'll be honest. They kind of all aren't great. What do we have? Aquafina, of course.
Hmm.
Dasani,
Yeah, Dasani is just.
naturally,
I
and
mean,
Dasani.
dehydrates me as it goes down my gullet.
Yeah, I heard recently that Dasani actually contains salt inside of it,
Oh, really?
so that you get dehydrated by drinking it, so that you have to buy more when you're in like theme parks and stuff and in the movies.
Yeah.
And boy, did that grind my gears.
Now,
I tell you.
I'm not sure how much truth there is to this, but I've heard something similar about chapstick, and yeah, that situation sort of reminds me of what I've heard pertaining that
Wow.
particular substance.
Unthinkable, honestly.
Hmm.
That some people would do such a thing.
That's just how the capitalism goes.
You know what? Yeah, any of the regular waters, I haven't had too many great interactions with. I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, now we get into a couple of the more fancier waters. You know, you have your Fiji water and a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of your smart water. I've
Those
had
are,
pretty good
yeah,
experiences with.
sufficiently better than the crappy
Sufficiently
ones
better than the crappy ones.
of
I
from
absolutely agree
Dasani.
with you. Um, I think not all of them are that great now. Now, I recently, as of last year, had I don't know if you've heard of boxed water.
Oh, I
You
have
see, the
actually had
gimmick
that before.
of boxed water, yeah,
Not
yeah,
for a
it's in
long
a
time.
box and not in a plastic
Yeah.
bottle. And I had it, and I'll be quite honest, maybe it was the circumstances, the fact it was in a very small packaging, and I was watching a movie at the same time, but I was very disappointed with the boxed water. Let me tell
I
you,
mean,
I thought it was very dry, despite its. And I don't really know that. Maybe it's because I couldn't really see the water. I couldn't connect
uh,
with it the same way that I usually can out of glass or plastic. But something was just not doing it for me with this boxed water. And I really wanted to enjoy the boxed water because at the end of the day, the packaging is sufficiently more environmentally friendly, and water loves the environment. I don't know if you guys knew that,
yeah,
but
that is okay. I mean, my personal. I only have one experience with box water, and it took place a long time ago. And if I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't completely remember the finer details of generally how the water was, but I really don't think it was anything special, because I really don't have that part that uh, could be or the fact that I don't have a particularly vivid memory of my experience with it could be a testament to that fact that it is maybe not particularly special. Um,
yeah, I think it's just it's there's more investment into the fact that it's boxed than really the quality of the water, which is
yeah,
understandable. But
I mean, yeah,
just kind of a shame, honestly.
nothing wrong with it. It's just maybe not for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a nice way of looking at it. What would you say is your favorite of the water brands
The
that you've
water
experienced?
brands. Okay. Um.
There's a lot to choose from.
Mhm.
I'll give it that. The environment is, despite the fact that they are all the same product, there's quite amount of competition and different brands claiming, different
Yeah.
benefits to their products.
Um. I honestly, I don't know. I do not have bottled water very much. Um. I
That
don't
makes
think.
sense. Yeah.
Okay. Um. I mean, really, the only bottled water that I can like have strong memories of is Dasani, when maybe I'm just like out in a place as a small child with my parents and they buy that water from some kind of store or something in the whatever place we were at. And it's just sort of not good and salty. And I do have strong memories of that kind of water, like, despite not enjoying it due to the fact that it is vile. Um, and
The
honestly,
water
I'm
the
not.
water that I remember the most really is whatever brand of I've various brands of course, but those like little mini bottles of the very
Ooh,
small
yeah.
portions that they'll give you at events and things.
I think
I've had quite a few of those.
I think those are actually quite enjoyable, but I think due more so to the circumstance in which they typically are consumed, which tends
I
to be when
mhm,
water is wanted more so than on average.
scarce, yeah. Yeah, your like charity races and whatnot. Your 5Ks and everything. You'll
Yeah,
have people
yeah,
giving out those to advertise their water brand. So it really leaves an impression, I guess. I guess is the idea really.
yeah.
I remember
That's
that
the
was the first time I
advertising.
ever had smart water, and I'll be honest, I was pretty into the smart water then. I mean, I've had it since, and it's
I'm
okay.
sure it's not bad, but
I've had other water with electrolytes and whatnot.
yeah, the
Essence,
experience
I think it's called.
your mind is definitely not quite in a 100% normal state when those waters are typically advertised, I suppose.
Yeah, but I still think of myself as in the heightened, you know, tap water superiority,
Yeah,
to be quite
of course.
frank. Because I mean, unless you're really going for distilled water, I see not much reason in getting bottled.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think it brings the same experience. Really, what you need is a reliable filter that'll get you the smoothness and the minerals that you need to just keep on watering. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. All right.
I know you agree. Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you like to usually consume your tap water in then? I know you might
I mean,
have some opinions
tap
about this
water.
now.
I mean, I guess just a
So
water bottle.
I have some opinions about water bottles.
Mhm.
Now,
Mm.
a lot of people
Yeah.
are very invested in like the hydro flask
Yeah,
ecosystem.
I'm not a
Naturally,
particularly
I'm
large
firmly in
enjoyer of
the
those.
thermo flask because I
Oh
find them to
yes,
get much less. But
actually,
specifically, the tops on the thermo flask,
yes.
unlike the hydro flask where you take off the entire top, and now you have this very wide mouth. I very much dislike the especially wide mouths. I suppose that's why I dislike the short and wide glasses, because I feel like
Okay.
if I'm like in a car or something, I can't drink the water because it's just gonna spill everywhere and go everywhere.
I mean,
Now I believe these thermoflask caps are the perfect width to not spill anything naturally, um, but they're better than like having a straw going through the water bottle, and you can just kind of pour it down,
mhm.
and make that nice little.
I've actually just acquired a
That
thermo
was
flask today, and
oh oh do tell.
I've not yet tried using it for water, or any liquid substance for that matter. Um,
Naturally.
Perhaps I shall do so in the near future. I mean,
Yeah, maybe
I could go ahead and do that
maybe.
right now.
I mean, it's possible. Or maybe we can leave it. We keep them waiting.
We could do
Tune
that.
in next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your first impressions on just handling the bottle? The people
I
want to know.
I mean, I really do quite enjoy that it is basically, for all intents and purposes, a perfect cylinder, as
Oh,
opposed to my
of
previous
course.
bottle, which is not that shape. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, the shape isn't the biggest
The end all
deal.
be all, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah. It's not the largest, not the biggest part of a water bottle, but it does seem to be quite nice, and I do like the wacky handle thing on the lid, allowing it to be weaponized should any situation arise.
Hmm? I do agree with that. I mean, I find it kind of impractical to attach to anything, or I suppose it
Yes.
can be used as a handle, but I find maybe like a carabiner or
Yeah,
something that
that's
opens up to fit on a belt loop, perhaps.
yeah. I think that is probably the intended purpose, though I cannot be sure. Which of the two thermoflask lids do you prefer?
So now, what are the two? So I know there's
There's one
one
that's
where
like a straw,
it's just the whole top, yeah.
and then there's one that like
Sometimes
twists
water
and
bottles
open,
will
and it's
have
like
a
a
straw,
yeah.
and I firmly disagree with
It's
this
like a
approach,
rectangular
honestly.
strawish thing
Yeah,
that like you
I
can chew on
find.
and will gnaw down until it's
Oh,
done.
yeah. I find that straws are exceedingly just problematic to have in water bottles. They're exceptionally difficult to clean and maintain nice,
Yeah.
and I think that really a straw, if you're really hankering down for some water, right? I think a straw truly is not that satisfying. I
No.
prefer being able to
Yeah.
get as much water as fast as
You
I
can
as,
go.
I- as
You
I
can go
can,
bigger
really.
with. You have more
I think
variety
I
with
think
how much water
having
you
the
consume
cap,
at once.
yeah,
More
I think
choice.
having the cap open just enough to get a lot of water down if you need to, so controlled that you won't be having any major spills anywhere.
Oh my god. I mean, this is
Fourth
not
sip
full
right
of
there.
water at the moment, but
But
I'm
you know what I'm
putting it up
talking
to my
about.
mouth, and I'm just imagining the sensation.
Just guzzling it down, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sort of
Down the gullet.
letting it slide down on its own.
Gravity. Beautiful mistress.
Mm. All right. Um.
Do you have any other thoughts on water? Any water news, maybe?
Water news. I don't know. There's just sort of, I mean, there's the general sort of stuff where um, Nestle is garbage, or Nestle, I guess. I don't
Oh
know. I
yeah.
don't like calling it
CEO said that
Nestle.
water isn't a human right.
Yeah,
Eskel. Yeah,
I
we
don't
don't
know.
like
That's
that
not
guy, but he
exactly
owns so
new
many
news.
brands. Yeah. I suppose we could talk about, if it's appropriate here, we can
Mm-hmm.
discuss swimming in some
Ooh,
regard.
that
Any thoughts
is
on
quite.
swimming, perhaps?
I enjoy
Because I
swimming.
mean, swimming is a pretty
I've,
essential part of
yes,
water's identity. You know.
I've quite, yes, I do quite enjoy swimming to a certain extent. Um,
I agree.
do you think is the optimal pool temperature?
This is a good
Well, I
question.
guess it depends on the
I thought
situation,
about
but
this a lot.
just
I think
recreationally generally.
generally, in a pool environment, where there is a hot tub involved, I think a relatively unheated pool, but in a warm area, I think that,
Yeah.
assuming there is a hot tub present,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it is important to have a juxtaposition between the temperature of the pool and the temperature of the hot tub. I think the pool should be a little cold. I think that's a good thing.
Yes, I think it
I
should
mean,
be
I
slightly
think to an
below your body temperature so that it
yeah,
feels slightly cool relative to the human body.
it should definitely be a nice cool off, because at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, it's nice to have a nice warm comfortable pool, but I mean, really, if you're
If
doing
I mean,
anything like
you have less,
laps,
there's less
you're gonna want
endurance.
it
Yeah.
cooler.
I mean, laps.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I suppose this is a conventional pool environment, but really, if you want to relax in warm water, there's stuff for that too. There is the hot tub, of course,
Mm-hmm.
the famed invention. But I think part of the pool's identity is,
Yeah,
jumping in that
and
cold
it's a little
pool.
cool.
Yeah, I think it's an important factor.
Now, yeah, when um, with pools, I do agree. Like just a little bit cooler than uh, outer human body temperature
Oh, absolutely. If
is
it was the same
optimal
body
for
temperature, it would just feel
general
like
recreation.
swimming in skin.
Although when it comes to like pools for the sake of okay, well let me I guess set up the situation. Like when I did junior guards, when well sorry more so like when practicing for that when like the pool being any warmer than even like 60 degrees was not that great of a thing because and it got to a point where like every time I went to swimming sort of thing, which is like more so for exercise than recreation, you kind of want it even cooler to the point where it's kind of uncomfortable. And the only real bad part of that situation is that there's no hot tub present. You just kind
Yeah,
of
that
gotta
that
deal
warming
with
up in
it.
the end. I think that's an important part of the pool process. If it is cool,
Yeah,
you
that's
should
the
have
yeah.
somewhere to escape to. I think
Hmm.
it makes pools more inclusive.
Although at the very least, even if the pool is slightly cooler than you would be comfortable with, and there is no hot tub present, despite all that, it does make a warm shower even more satisfying.
Amen. I do agree. And then of course we can natural bodies of water.
Ooh.
This is a pretty big one. Do you prefer well, I mean, for starters, do you prefer the oceans and lakes, or do you prefer pools?
Um, honestly,
More of a
I don't
natural
know.
body of water,
The
or are you
oceans
more of
have
a
the element.
artificial body of
The
water?
oceans have the element of waves to spice things up and make it a little bit more entertaining. Um,
That's
at the
true.
same time, they are a little bit cool, but I think the coolness being a problem can be solved with a simple, very brief run beforehand to make the coolness
Yeah,
feel more of a relaxing thing than, uh, I guess, an uncomfortable thing.
I agree. Yeah, I think lakes
Mm,
are kind of a bit strange
It's
for a
just,
swimming
yeah.
experience. It's a weird in between the
They're
ocean
like
and
cold like the
but
ocean
they're
and deep. I mean, for
but
all
they are optimal for any kind of water sports. You know,
that
your
is
water
true.
skiing, your wakeboarding
That is correct. With
wouldn't be
no
possible
huge
without lakes. Doing
waves.
that in the ocean, quite frankly, seems not very fun,
Maybe you could do
honestly.
it quite far out into the ocean, but
Yeah,
where
but
there's not as much waves, or any for that
yeah,
matter, without
I
a
mean,
squat.
waves are a pretty integral part of the ocean. That's where you
Yeah,
get your
I
surfing and
mean,
skimboarding and everything. I mean, waves have been they've attempted to replicate the waves,
yeah,
with
wave
wave
pools.
pools.
They're
Been a
too
thing
they're too
for a while
uniform
now, but
though, and like
you know what?
regular.
I think wave pools are too predictable.
Yeah,
I think the
you know
thrill
exactly
of the
when it's coming.
waves is not knowing when the wave's gonna come, not
Yeah,
knowing how big it's gonna be. It's part of the
and
experience.
even when
But
it's right up in front of you, and you can
when
see yeah,
it's just like a bunch of big bumps
yeah.
that it's like driving over speed bumps. Really, is how wave pools are.
Even when a wave
Honestly,
is right in front of you
overrated.
and you can see its size and you know what it looks like, even then you still can't quite predict exactly how hard it's gonna hit, and that little element there that just completely makes the whole
Really spices it
situation.
up. I think wave pools trying to replicate the ocean, not the best thing for water parks. Honestly, I think it's more interesting to do things that the ocean can't.
Yeah, like
Which
water
is like water
slides. Yeah,
slides. I do
that's.
enjoy myself a good water slide, just like
Ooh.
every other person, you know.
I mean, yeah. Water parks are probably where you want the water to be a little bit warmer. Um,
I do agree. Yeah, you're experiencing the water for much less. Maybe if not because during the water slide itself, you're kind of sitting around and in the water, not really. You're not contained inside of the water. You're not submerged in any way. So
mhm.
you're kind of just being in the open air as well as being in the water.
Yeah.
It's just not really the same,
Like.
you know.
Mhm. Anyway,
Gotta love that chlorine smell, which is not an essential part of the water chemical compound, mind you. We are firm believers in the H2O only.
yeah.
You
Well,
can buy our H2O only bumper stickers. Link in the
those
description.
are gonna be. We could actually make those.
We could.
You know, on the good old RB.
On the Arby's. They got the meats.
Oh yeah.
That's not what we're here
No,
to talk
that's
about.
not what. Yeah. Meat is cool, but actually,
But water is better.
yeah.
So, um, I don't know how much time we have, but I
Nor do
suppose
I.
we there's a whole can of worms that we've failed to unpack here,
Which what made that be?
which is water's second form, second life, if you
Oh
will,
yeah.
in ice.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your opinions about ice.
Ice. Honestly, I prefer to not have ice in non-water drinks. At least I mean maybe a little bit of ice, but I don't drink drinks like particularly fast. So by the time I get to the bottom of them, like the ice has diluted them a little bit. Um, and it doesn't really help sustain the coldness, especially if you're in an not out under the hot sun. Like if you're just in it casually in an indoor restaurant, then I really don't think ice adds much of anything to a non-water beverage. So I prefer to not have it in those circumstances, though obviously it has no negative impact on water, on regular liquid water whatsoever. Um, so I do enjoy it then.
Yeah, I think ice. I enjoy ice, if not for its additions to water, if only for its
Oh,
intrinsic eating benefits. I
yeah,
think
that's
munching on the ice is a real big part of the ice identity, and I think I've been told that you're not really supposed to eat the ice and that it's bad for your teeth, but I oftentimes will firmly disregard these warnings,
mm-hmm.
if only for the fact that munching on ice is just
just so great. I mean, it's like eating, but nothing.
Yeah. Like eating, you're not sustained nutritionally in any way. You are merely hydrating yourself with a solid, soon to be liquid, but not until it's well past anything that your nervous system will feel with that great of an intensity.
Yeah, yeah. I just think that that solid crunch. I don't think there's any other food out there that will quite give you that much
Yeah.
resistance and then that much payoff.
Isn't there some ice that's specifically made to be crunchable?
Yes, there is chewable ice, often found in steakhouses and other places. Chewable ice is one of the greatest inventions mankind has ever created. It is so satisfying. They're in these little small spheres
Like
that you drink it with a drink, and then it's really like you're eating the drink.
they're not quite
Sometimes
as
people will tell you to eat your
transparent,
drink,
right?
and they're just joking, but you really can now.
Yeah.
Modern technology, honestly.
Mm-hmm. How do we even figure that out? How to make those?
How to
do we
make
even
ice?
come to the realization? No, how to make crunchy
Chewable ice.
Chewable ice. Ice that won't
Yeah.
necessarily destroy your teeth.
I think what it is not slightly melted ice. I've had ice before where on occasion it will melt in such a fashion that like it makes the ice like porous.
Ooh.
I think that's how it was made
Oh, I
chewable.
think I know
It
what
seems
you
like
mean.
it's like porous to me.
Yeah.
That's what I seem to have noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Like like just holes going throughout the whole ice
Yeah,
just
I
makes
think
it.
probably causes the ice to have somewhere to go when you crunch into it, possibly. I don't know about physics, but
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know. We're not experts on ice. Only real water here.
mm-hmm.
They're not really the same thing.
That's the main specialization.
But I mean, I still think ice is a pretty essential part of water. I mean,
Yes.
you got your polar ice caps
What
and
do you-
whatnot.
Now, there is one last state of matter which water can commonly take the form of, or
Oh.
actually at all take the form of, seeing as it is impossible for compounds to fill the plasma state. And that is water vapor. What do you think about those?
I have always been a big fan of humidity. I'll be honest. Now I don't know explicitly about humidifiers. I think sometimes humidifiers can be a bit much. Kind of just a thing if you're like sick, but I find humid environments to be much more enjoyable and tolerable in certain circumstances,
And,
of
yeah,
course,
depends.
than especially than arid
mean-
environments. I find
Oh,
dry,
arid, yeah. If it's too
dry,
dry,
arid
then
environments
it's definitely
I find
worse
very
than humidity.
uncomfortable.
Then
I enjoy
Too
visiting,
humidity.
your mountains and whatnot, but
yeah,
to be quite frank, I think the worst part is just the air and
mean,
going outside and just breathing in
humidity-
and just
humidity can be kind of a little bit of a tiny little bad little thing you don't want if there's some sort of large quantity of exercise that is happening. It doesn't really help you out in any sense whenever that's going on. But beyond, like, apart from that, apart from those occasional circumstances, it is an overall pleasantness, I would
I
say.
do agree. I think humidity in the gaseous state is pretty good. I think maybe one day in our lifetime we might be able to see, the plasma state of water, but
I don't think that's possible due to the fact that plasma state results in something similar to how metallic bonds work with a sea of electrons, only it's more like a gas in the nature of how it fills various shapes and whatnot, only being contained by gravity in sheer quantities such as that of the sun. which causes compounds to be impossible, since without electrons, the bonding can't really, without any stable, like electrons in stable orbits, the bonding can't really take place. So water cannot be achieved as a plasma.
You know, I do see where you're coming from with this argument, and to some extent, I agree. However, they did figure out chewable ice.
That is true.
So surely that means they can figure out plasma water.
I guess it really depends on where we put our research into.
Yep.
With regards
And
to
that's
future
our
technologies.
that's our pitch, really.
I guess so.
We want more funds in plasma water.
Plasma water. I wonder what that would taste like.
That's the tagline.
Alright. that I will do that. I will use that. I will use that in a. I will use plasma water
That's
in
what
a Patently Stupid.
I wonder what it will taste like.
I hope they can make it room
Incredible.
temperature. Is there any reason
Right.
why plasma can't be room temperature?
Laws of physics, margin of physics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Alright. It's probably about time to wrap it up.
I think it's about time. I think it's time for the final sip. So are you ready?
Yep, I have my water.
Right. 3, 2, 1.
There we go.
Good note to end on.
And goodbye.
Thank you everyone for watching the Water
The Water
Squadler.
Squad. Yep. Something along those lines.
We thank you. This
Yep.
was been episode 1.
Episode 1 of the Water Squadler.
Yeah. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Keep on
Oh,
sweating.
I have a question.
What?
What's smacking against the wall?
You know what's smacking against the wall is a particular aquatic creature. Lives in water, as a matter of fact.
All kinds of whales.
All kinds of whales. Those are smacking
All of
against the wall.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Keep on sweating and pissing and everything to do with water cycling through your anatomy.
Amen.